folks, Free Play Frank. Well, as the title said, this is the video that none of us goat owners ever want to have to make. But unfortunately, there are some significantly bad things about having and raising goats we have to deal with somewhat on a daily basis. So I'm going to discuss some of that today with you guys. And then later I'm going to play an awesome song from 1980, Break Down Dead Ahead by Boz Scaggs. Alright, let's get going. Okay, I want to talk to you guys about things about goats that aren't good. Now, if you haven't got goats yet, or you already got goats, or you're thinking of getting goats, you need to listen to this stuff because it's important. Now, the first thing is you need to have a place to keep the goats where you can actually keep them, where they're going to be safe and have enough room to move around and so on. And like I've got 5 acres of property here, and I've had 20 goats on here, and it does really well, and get up to 40 goats, and you're going to have some that are going to be not having enough to eat from the local vegetation. And you get more than that, and that's too much for this land, so I have to sell off the extras. But you can't expect them to just survive just on the grass and the bush that live on the land. You know, like they do really well on bush land. Some kinds of goats do all right on just grass, but most need bush. So you have to get them high quality food in a form of hay and grain and various other sources, which I'll talk to you in a minute. But before we get off the subject of the place to keep the goats, obviously land is expensive now, so if you don't already have a farm or have access to a farm or some type of property that's on the outskirts of town where the city hall won't bother you for having goats, you know, you might have to go to a cheaper area, like out in the middle of nowhere kind of thing, you know, in a bush or someplace that has a crappy, long, cold winter, and then you can still get cheap land there. So that's going to be your biggest hurdle if you want to have goats, is having a place to keep them on. And now we'll move on to stuff that actually goes wrong with the goats. The first one is parasites. Now, they seem to always have a problem with intestinal parasites. It usually starts after you've had the goats on your land for about 2 years, because that's how long it takes for the parasites to build up in the soil, and then they pick them up when they eat the grass. And that's another reason why having them on bushland is better, because they'll eat the vegetation that's high enough off the ground that it doesn't have parasites. Because the parasites can only live when the grass is like 6 inches tall or less. And you got to get on learning how to deal with the parasites. Watch all the YouTube videos about it. Watch my videos. Talk to your vet. Find out what's going on parasite-wise in your area, and get the proper medications and learn how to use them. And learn to recognize the signs when your goats have parasites. Lots of videos about that. I'm not going to talk too much about that right now, but that's a big killer of goats. You need to be able to treat it before the goat gets too sick that it can't recover. The next thing is you got to have nutritional food. That goes without saying, I know, but if you live in an area like me on southwestern Canada where we get too much rain, it washes all the nutrients out of the soil, so there's not much nutrients in the grass they eat or the hay that I buy that's done locally. And, you know, I'm lucky I have one hay supplier that's figured out how to fix it all, how to amend all his soil. He's got computerized equipment attached to his hay cutting and fertilizing machines, so the hay I've got from him does real well. But the problem with that is that since there's not that many people here that have livestock anymore because of the cost of everything going up, is that he's running out of hay all the time. Like, he ran out last year in October, so then I have to buy cheaper hay that's low quality from somebody else, and then supplement with higher quality that I have to bring from hundreds of miles away where they don't have as much rain and they have high quality. They're able to grow high quality hay there. And you also have to buy them grain from your local co-op. And another good thing is you got to have, if you can get free fruits and vegetables and bread from your local stores or food bank or whatever that they can't sell or give away, you know, you can feed that to the goats too, but you got to be careful. You have to take out all the stuff that's toxic. You know, learn what plants are toxic to goats, what foods are toxic to goats, and don't let them have any of that. Sorry about the plane, I can't do anything about that. But anyways, with the vegetables, like they can't have onions or rhubarb or kale or potatoes, and you got to cut all the mold and all the spoiled stuff off, and don't give them what do they call that, white enriched bread with all the additives, over processed stuff. It's a waste of time giving that to them. I give that to somebody to feed pigs because they do okay on it. You know, just give them the whole grain bread. And another thing about goats that's not good is that they get birth defects. The babies sometimes will be born with something wrong with them and they'll die almost immediately, or they'll be stillborn, or they'll live for a few weeks and then they'll get weak and they'll get sick, and then they'll stop eating and then they'll die. And usually that's malnutrition that causes that, especially where I live with the trouble we have with the plants and no nutrients in the plants. Usually that's what is. The female goat is malnutritioned when she's pregnant, so the baby doesn't develop properly. Or it could also be because the goats fight, and sometimes they'll ram each other, and if they ram a pregnant doe, then the baby could be injured inside of her and then be born with something wrong with them, or even die inside of her, and that's another disaster that is going to be, you know, something I'll have to make another video. I hope I never have to. I've only had that problem once, but was able to extract the dead goat without hurting the doe, and she survived. But if they have high quality food long enough into like in the early part of their pregnancy onward, they should be all right as far as not having birth defects. Another thing that can cause that is poor breeding stock. It could be genetic. So when you get goats, you have to get high quality goats if you can. Like where I live is very few people have goats, so I'm lucky to have what I have. And the goats that I have that are strong and healthy for the most part survive. The ones that are weak have problems. I'm constantly dealing with you know, giving them worm treatments or parasite treatments, you know, having to quarantine them and put them by themselves and feed them separately and build their strength back up. And you know, and they get bullied. That's another problem with goats. There's a pecking order with the order in which that they eat their food, and the strong ones eat first, and whatever's left, the littler ones, the younger ones and stuff, get that, and a lot of times they won't have enough food, so you got to put them separate. So what I do is I put multiple feeding stations, and then the goat gets chased out of one place, he can just go eat with the goats at another one. And you know, but sometimes they just give up and they'll stop. Like 2 or 3 times they get chased out of a place, they won't bother, and then they'll just stand there, and then you have to put them in the stall and feed them separately. But of course, you know, if you're a production place where you're trying to make money selling goats, you're gonna have to probably get rid of that goat, sell that goat to somebody that wants a pet or whatever. But because yeah, it becomes so much work and extra stress and stuff dealing with individual problems with each animal when you have weak animals and sick animals and stuff like that. So you gotta really pay attention when you're buying goats, and you know, like don't just take every goat that people give you for free, because often they'll be sick, they'll have heavy parasite loads, or they'll have, like, you know, some other illness that the goats have. And if you do get other goats, before you put them with your goats, make sure that you quarantine them for a month and give them a full regimen of worm treatment, parasite treatment, and make sure they're healthy before you put them with the rest of your herd, so they don't infect the rest of your herd. And another problem with when they fight, like usually it's like some goats like each other and some don't, and the ones that don't like each other, if they're bigger than the one they don't like, they'll just headbutt them and ram them and stuff, and the goats get injured from that. I've lost a couple. I had a couple that had their backs seriously damaged, and a couple had broken hips from that, because the other goat will ram them up against a wall in a barn. You know, and you can't fix a broken hip if it's broken like right up near the top of the leg bone where it joins to the hip. You know, I tried, I paid a bunch of money at the vet to have it set and put in a cast, and the cast all just came apart like in a day, and a goat was hurting, so I had to put her down, and it broke my heart. So yeah, they fight, you know. You want to be, worry about that. Like, keep the ones that are really strong and bullying and stuff like that. Try and feed them somewhere by themselves, and then let the ones that don't fight eat together. You know, that's another way you can deal with that. But you know, that's all for another video. I'm just trying to give you the oversight on the bad things of goats on this. I've already made this video 4 times and I had to redo it because I just keep talking about stuff too much, going into too much detail that's already being covered on other videos. So, and another issue that you're gonna have with goats is sometimes they just get sick for no reason. You can't figure out what the goat did. Like, maybe did it eat something that made it sick, or to get hit by lightning, or get bit by some kind of, like, you know, scorpion, or you're going through all these scenarios in your mind of what happened to the goat, why did it get sick. And most of the time it's because you didn't treat the parasites soon enough, and the goat just gets weaker and weaker until they can't work anymore, they can't stand anymore, they can't eat anymore, and now it's laying down on the ground and won't move, and it's sick, and you know, and you don't know what to do. And usually that's what it is, but sometimes it isn't. Sometimes they do eat something that makes them sick. Like, I lost one recently that was a perfectly healthy, strong goat at 4 years old. I never had a problem with her, and she died in 2 days because she ate something that plugged up the inside of her stomach somehow. Like, because, you know, I gave her medicine and stuff. I was giving her everything I know how to do, and you know, and it didn't work. Like, she still passed. So it was either something toxic, or she ate something that jammed up the passages in the inside of her stomach. So you got to be careful of that. See, my goats are all having a great time here, resting in the warm sun now. It's April here, and we finally got some good weather here, and you know, love this kind of weather. Which is the next issue, is I got a lot of rain where I live. I don't have a whole lot of snow or frost or whatever for a long time, a few weeks, 2-3 weeks of that. But the rest of the winter, spring and fall is dark, gloomy rain, and getting dark at 4 o'clock. So that's not good for goats. You know, you got to make sure they got lots of high quality feed to eat, and they have to have a dry place where they can go to get out of the wind and out of the rain. And you can't let the floor of your barn get all full of, like, you know, wet. Like, you gotta keep it dry, put wood chips down, or old crappy hay or whatever, so that they're laying up off the ground. So, you know, you don't want your goats to get wet as much as possible. But as long as they have a place to go, and you should keep the baby goats out of the rain, you know, for the first, you know, 2 months anyways, depending how cold it is. You know, like, yeah, you want to not have baby goats born in the winter time. You want them to be born in the spring when it's already warm enough that they can go without a heat lamp after a week or 2. And you have to keep your male goats separate, so because they'll breed, they're capable of getting the females pregnant as early as 4 months old. So, you know, when it's starting to get on to, you know, after 3 months, you need to be like, okay, I need to find new homes for these goats. Or you can get them fixed. Like, you can get them fixed when they're little. They put a rubber band around their nuts, and you know, and it makes them, you know, I'm not going to talk about the details of how that works, but you can do it, and then they won't get the females pregnant, and you can leave them with the females. But if you get too many males, the males fight. You know, like, I've had problems where, like, I've had 3 or 4 adult male goats, and they're just like killing each other, like just tearing each other up, ramming each other, and you know, but they're all pretty evenly matched, so none of them hurt each other. But you know, it's just like, it's pretty scary to watch, like a couple of 250-pound bucks ramming each other, you know. So you got to be careful of that. You got to put your bucks got to be in a pen that's strong enough that those guys can't break out of, because when the does get in heat, they'll go up to the edge of the fence where the males are and wag their tails and stuff, and the goats will go crazy in there, and they'll do anything to get to your girls. So, you know, you put up some strong fence. Like, I've had problems with my male goats getting out and getting the wrong goats pregnant, and then I have problems with, you know, the babies don't survive because it's inbred, or, you know, something where the goat's too young. They get a female that's only like 10 months old pregnant. That's too young. They shouldn't be getting pregnant till they're at least 1.5 years. I always wait 2 years. And then another problem that's happening now with goats is nobody really seems to want to buy them because, in Canada here, the government has all these ridiculous rules and high taxes. All this crap's gotten so much worse since COVID that, nobody can afford to keep livestock anymore. The cost of feed's all gone up and land's gone up, and, it's just ridiculous, and it's just... You're not going to make any money raising goats in the southern part of Canada anymore, unless, you're just not going to do it. Unless you have no heart and you just sell them to anybody that's going to kill them for food or whatever. But, if you want to be like me and have a high quality, herd where you're selling them to people that are going to take care of them and, like milking goats and, goats for clearing brush and stuff like that, and companion animals for other animals, and you're not going to be selling them for meat. I mean, I couldn't do it. I just can't do it. I can't sell my animals to people that are going to kill them. And there's another thing, unfortunately, that happens in some parts of the world is some people are parts of religions or cults or whatever where they kill goats. So they'll get your goats and they'll lie to you. They'll come and they'll say, oh yeah, we want goats for pets, or we're going to breed them, whatever. But they're going to chop their head off with an axe and sacrifice it, to some, because they believe they'll give them good fortune or something like that. So you don't want to be letting your animals go to those kind of people. That's just not right. It's not right to do that to living things. I don't care who you are. Everything has a right to have a life and to, be loved and be safe and all that stuff. And people like that, I don't know. Why don't they just kill each other? Well, I think they are. Anyways, I don't want to make this a political or religious thing. I'm not interested in discussing any of those type of topics on my channel. I've said that before. But it's got to the point where some of it you just can't even live without, it's just so friggin' pervasive. All this toxic stuff going on in the world that, any normal human being is just probably gonna, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm not going to talk about that anymore, but just don't let your goats go to people that are going to not take good care of them. Screen your buyers, ask them lots of questions, make sure they know about the parasites and the fencing and keeping the males separate, how to feed them, how to shelter them, and also make yourself available. Say you can call me anytime if you have a problem. I'll come and I'll help you if your goat gets sick or any questions. Don't hesitate to call. And also you can also say I want to come and see my goats. Once they buy them, I'm going to come buy one. Because okay, if I call you, I'm in your area, I want to drop in and see my goats, and that'll get rid of all those toxic kind of murdering people. They won't bother with you then. So act like that when you're selling your goats. It's just say no, I'm not selling it to people that are going to kill them. And just be like that. I want to come and visit my goats sometimes, and I'll be here to help you if they get sick, and that's really all you can do. I mean, some people are going to get through. You're going to get some people that are good liars, whatever. And like I say, if you don't care about the animals, you just want to make money selling them, it's yeah, you can make money, but I mean, I used to scrap cars and drive truck and run excavator, and I made 100 times more money doing that than I ever could selling goats, even at the top prices. I have goats because I like them and I think they're good animals to have, but they're a lot of work and there's a lot of stress. There's all these things that can go wrong, and I want you guys to learn all about all that so that you know about it hopefully before you get goats, and then you're prepared. Because I had somebody teaching me when I started, and she knew a lot, but not as much as nobody knows everything about goats. There are people maybe in other countries that have had them for hundreds of years that probably do, but even then, that's what they know. A lot of it won't work in our climate. That's always the problem when you got animals the goats are from a dry desert type climate with bush. Not wet, marshy type soil, and usually not that far north. You're living in an area where it's 20 below in the winter for weeks on end. That's really hard on your goats. They'll survive, but you gotta have them inside, and they gotta have tons of high quality hay and grain, and so You know, like every YouTube channel on here, even the ones that have had goats for 20 years or more, have had stories where, oh, my goat got sick and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, and then they just died. My vet looked at it and she couldn't figure out what was wrong, and you know, all this. Like every one of us has that problem, and you will too when you have goats. So you got to be prepared. You know, it's going to be anguish, mental anguish that you're going to have to deal with. You know. And another thing is that you have to keep your goat's stress levels low. Like, don't have a dog running around in here chasing them and barking at them, or like if your kids, teach your kids not to chase your goats, so just come and, like, you know, hang out in the field with them, sit down on a chair and be calm, and let the goats come and get used to them. Like, don't let anyone chase the goats or harass the goats. And then there's another issue with predators, like coyotes or cougars or whatever. You have to have like protection for that. Like, all I have here is coyotes. Like, we have the odd cougar or bear, but I have 6-foot chain link fence. It works good to keep the coyotes out. If you get a guard dog, make sure it's a livestock guardian dog that's properly trained to be around animals. So like I said, you have to keep the animal's stress down, because the stress will make the animal get higher parasite loads, and that can make them sick. Okay, and there's one more thing that I need to talk to you guys about with goats, and that's getting too attached to them to the point where you become an animal hoarder. You know, and you can't let them go. If somebody offer you $1,000 for a goat, and they're going to beg you that they're going to teach good care of it and all that stuff, and you know, you check their references, they're good, you know, all that, they're not going to kill them, but you still won't let them go, you know. Like, that's not good, because they take over your life. Like, they will take over your life, the amount of time and energy and money that you have to put into keeping them. Like, the more goats you have, the more work it is. You know, because eventually you get too many for your land, and then you're buying more and more feed, and then they wreck the whole place. They'll eat all the vegetation. In the wintertime, this will all be mud, and then they'll get sick. Their feet will get rotten. You have to trim their feet, keep their feet dry. So no, like, you have to understand that animals have their place in the world, and they all deserve to be loved and cared for and live in a good place. But don't let your goats overbreed. Like, if you got male goats, keep them separate, or just sell the male goats, or get them fixed. Because then you end up with too many goats, and then you become an animal hoarder, and then all your friends and family lose respect for you, and your neighbors start calling the city and complaining, or the SPCA, and you know, you don't want that. You know, like, it creeps up on you. Like, I have that problem. You know, I have a hoarder mentality, but I've always maintained that I'm only going to keep stuff that's good, that I need, or I'm going to use in the future. I'm not going to keep random crap. So when it comes to animals, I've made my mind up that this is going to be, in lieu of the difficulties with the costs and all the other stuff going on, that this is going to be my last kidding season for a while. You know, I'm going to downsize my herd and do my best to find high quality homes for them. I'm going to get down to about 20 goats maybe, because I like 20 goats. That seems to be about right. You know, I don't have to, not killing myself looking after them. The feed's not that expensive even, you know, and they won't wreck the place. You know, they can still survive. You can keep 20 goats on 5 acres, no problem. So I know there's probably stuff here that I forgot to mention, and if I did, please leave it in a comment and I'll make a future video about that issue. But anyways, I wish you guys all the best with your goats, and all the best in the future, and I'll see you in the next video.
I call you, you ain't in. What's this cold reaction? Where you been? Ooh, it's fine. I'm sorry, but it don't make sense. You pulling just right out on first offense. Ooh, baby, play it smart. Before you go south with your big mouth, let it take your heart. Danger, there's a breakdown dead ahead. Maybe you're in way above your head. I may burn, might upset you, but you know I'd never let you down. I told you, no more lying, no more tears are falling. Stop your crying. Baby, I'm your man. Before you go back to your sidetrack, baby, understand. Major, there's a breakdown dead ahead. I said maybe you're in way above your head. I may burn, might upset you, but you know I'd never let you down. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Danger, there's a breakdown dead ahead. I said maybe you're way above your head. I may burn, might upset you, but you know I'd never let you down. No, no, danger, there's a breakdown dead ahead. Danger, there's a breakdown dead ahead. I said maybe you're in way above your head. I may burn, might upset you, but you know I'd never let you down, down, down. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, no, no. No. All right, there you have it. Breakdown Dead Ahead by Boz Scaggs. See you all next time. Have a good one.